guys, Dr. Cinema again. I just finished my top 10 worst movies I've seen 2017 list. So let's go into the top 10 best movies I've seen 2017 list. So, like I said in the previous video at the beginning, I have not seen every single movie that 2017 had to offer. So, if there's a movie that didn't make this list you wanted to be on this list, I either A, didn't watch it, or B, it just didn't make the cut. Also, this is based on a ranking that I did for all of the movies I've seen in 2017. So this is just where they happen to be. So without further ado, top 10 best movies I've seen 2017. You ready, Guachi? You ready? Good. Alright. Number 10. Blade Runner 2049. Now, the original Blade Runner movie did not get that much success when it was first released, but has since become a cult hit and one of the best science fiction movies of all time, really being more of a noir film than an actual big blockbuster action movie. And this movie is faithful to that original. This is a sequel that feels organic, that feels natural, that feels like something it should have told. It's beautiful. Although I will admit it is a little long for most audiences, and plus the slow pacing and the way that's more focused on the story and characters rather than big action and such can turn some people off, but this is a great movie. I really do love it. Number 9. Matt, I know you're not going to like this one. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is possibly one of the biggest things to have come out this summer. It became a monster movie, breaking box office records, and it's a really well built story. Now, I know the DCEU has had some mixed results with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad, but Wonder Woman is so great. I mean, the character of Wonder Woman is strong, the story is focused, and it's just inspiring to watch. Although I will say there might be a couple things I would change. The CGI is not at its best in this film, and I guess a couple things I would also change as well. I won't get into it, but it's just a great movie. Move on to number 8. Wind River. Wind River stars Jeremy Renner, the actor who plays Hawkeye, and Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Scarlet Witch. And one person described this movie as a film noir in the snow. That's honestly the perfect explanation for this movie. Based on real life events, it tells the story of a murder that happened on an Indian reservation, and now the Jeremy Renner guy who plays a forest ranger, something like that. Yeah, forest ranger probably. And Elizabeth Olsen, who plays a FBI agent. And it's a strong story. It brings you into the story. And it does not end the way you think it was going to end. So, let's move on to number 7. Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. Now, this is a biopic of Professor Marston. Marston? The professor. Let's call him the professor. He is the guy that invented the lie detector test, but more importantly, he is the comic book creator of Wonder Woman. And this tells his story. Now, while the lie detector test and Wonder Woman do play big parts in this biopic, the main focus is on the professor himself and his relationship with his 2 wives. Yes, 2 wives. So this is obviously a kind of relationship kind of thing that would not have done that well if it was released even 10 years ago or so. But the romance in this story is not sexualized. It's told realistically. They show the struggles that they go through. And like I said, while Wonder Woman and the lie detector test played big parts in this movie, that's not the real focus, which can turn some people off, but I really like this movie. Number 6, War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, most people will probably be turned off since it was advertised as this big war movie, but it was not the kind of war movie they were expecting. Instead of actual warfare, this is psychological warfare and work prison camps, and Caesar going up against the Colonel, played by Woody Harrelson, but not in the way you were expecting. This is a powerful movie, a great character film. I almost cried. I'm not gonna lie, I almost cried. It's that strong of a movie. There's heart, soul. It's just so full of great storytelling and characters. And I know that sounds weird since most of the characters are apes. Sorry, but it's just that strong. So let's move on to number 5, The Shape of Water. This is probably by far the strangest movie I've seen this year, but I knew that going in, so what the hell. So this is directed by Guillermo. It's the guy who directed Pan's Labyrinth. This is described as a modern fairy tale set in the late 1960s, early 1970s, somewhere in there, in America, where this woman, Eliza, who's mute, works as like a maid, cleanup person in the scientific laboratory, and they just bring in this aquatic creature that's an homage slash tribute to the Gillman from Creature of the Black Lagoon, and they fall in love, and yes, they do perform the intimate act. And it's a modern fairy tale, and that's the best way to describe it. It's not going to attract everyone, but I was really touched by this movie. Not in that way, in the romantic way. I really enjoyed it from a storytelling perspective. Moving on. Number 4, Gerald's Game. Now, 2017, with the exception of the Dark Tower movie, has been a great year for Stephen King fans. You had the movie It, which, even though did not make this top 10 list, was still a very good movie. You also have a Netflix adaptation of another Stephen King story, 1922, which also is pretty good. And now we have Gerald's Game, the Netflix adaptation of Stephen King's story. It's a very minimalistic movie. It's about this couple that's in this fairly secluded cabin, and they're about to do some kinky stuff. The woman's in her lingerie. She's handcuffed to the bed, but shortly afterwards, her husband dies of a heart attack, and now she has to figure out a way to escape before she dies. It's a very minimalistic movie. It does very well building up tension, suspense. It's in this one performance that literally caused me to get bad sleep. I could not sleep. And I already did a video talking about that, so check that out. But it's very well done. Number 3, Raw. So Raw is a French movie by a French director. It focuses on this girl who's from a very, very strict vegetarian family. Both of her parents are veterinarians, and she's about to go off to her first year of veterinary school, which is basically vet college, where her older sister has spent a few years at and is still there. And she tastes meat for the first time, she becomes a cannibal. I want to explain more about this movie, but I think that's the best way to do that without coming out completely crazy. A lot of weird stuff happens in the movie, and I mean that in the best way. It's on Netflix. You have to check it out. It's not a Netflix movie, but it is on Netflix, so please check that out. It has so much fun, and the way it ends will actually be kind of disturbing, but it's very well done. Alright, top 2. Number 2, The Disaster Artist. The Disaster Artist. What a funny story. So anyway, The Disaster Artist. It's based on the book, The Disaster Artist, written by Greg Sestero, one of the main people behind the making of the movie The Room. So I already talked about this movie in the movie Face Off, and I've talked about The Room itself before. But this is the story of Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero. Tommy Wiseau being played by James Franco, who does a surprisingly great job, and Greg Sestero being played by Dave Franco, James' brother. and they tell the story about James and not James, of Tommy's and Greg's friendship, as well as the making of the movie The Room. It's very it has a very human element in this movie, which I was pleasantly surprised by. It's just so well done. The only reason this isn't at number one is, first of all, since I read the book of The Disaster Artist, I did notice some changes in terms of atmosphere and such that had to be changed for the movie, which I can understand, but it's something I have to take notice of. And secondly, the reason it's number two because there's one other movie that just got me the most, more than this. Number one, the number one movie I've seen in 2017, Logan. Hugh Jackman has played the character Wolverine since the year 2000. This is his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is his 9th appearance as the character. 10 if you count the semi-appearance in Deadpool. This is a great movie that just happens to have superheroes in it. There's action, there's realism, there's this grit, and this movie did make me cry. The ending of this movie made me cry. I can't even think about the ending without fighting back tears. No, I promise myself I won't do this. Alright. It's the swan song for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, as he will no longer be playing the character. And I can't think of a better way to end this career on. And those are the top 10 best movies I've seen 2017. And like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see you guys some other time.